Joining me now, White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield. Kate, thank you very much. Day 51, how extraordinary it is. Let's start with what we just heard from Dr. Fauci and those former presidents. Where do you think we'd be today in this vaccination effort if you had inherited a more comprehensive plan in the weeks and months before, and if people had been told to wear their masks, that it wasn't a political issue?
Well, Andrea, I don't think there's any question that we could have been in a better position if there had been a more aggressive and comprehensive vaccine program and a more aggressive and direct communication about the importance of wearing masks. But, you know, let's look at where we've come since January 20th, since President Biden took office. You know, for example, when we took office, less than half of the vaccine that was being shipped out to states was going out to people. And now that number is 75%. We've made tremendous strides on actually getting the vaccine into Americans' arms. And that's because we've increased the supply, including through things like fostering a partnership between Merck and Johnson & Johnson, two competitors who are coming together to produce the vaccine at a higher rate to ensure that we have more supply. That's something that President Biden's leadership was able to get done. So we've created more supply. We've created more vaccination sites. You know, we've got mobile clinics. We've started a pharmacy program that allows people to go to their local pharmacy and get the shot. And we've created more vaccinators. We've recruited more people to give the shots. So people like former retired doctors and nurses and military folks. So we've really made a whole of government comprehensive effort. We've made enormous strides. So we're now to the point where, as the president has said, we have enough vaccine for all adults to be vaccinated by the end of May. So we've made huge strides. You're going to hear the president talk about that tonight, and you'll also hear him talk about his plans for the coming months and the path ahead.
Let's talk about tonight's speech. The president is going to look back at the loss of the past year, certainly, but also towards the future. How is he balancing that as he knows that some people are still suffering and we still have really terrible inequities in the vaccine distribution?
Well, he is going to talk about what we've lost over the course of the last year. He's going to acknowledge the sacrifice that we've been through, the loss of life, also the loss of livelihood. This has been an incredibly difficult year, to say the least, for all Americans, and he's going to acknowledge that. But he's also going to strike an optimistic tone about what we can do to move forward now that the end is on the horizon. He's going to acknowledge the end is not tomorrow. This is not an easy journey. There's still a lot that people need to do. We need to continue to wear masks. We need to continue to social distance in public, I should say, wear masks in public. Obviously, there's new CDC guidance about what vaccinated people can do in terms of masks indoors in small groups. But he's going to talk clearly about the path ahead, and he's also going to lay out his vision for what we can do over the next few months to really move us to a place where this pandemic is behind us. And, you know, a big piece of that is the American Rescue Plan, a bill that he's going to sign into law that is going to get money out the door to ensure that we can continue to get people vaccinated, that we can get our schools reopened, that we can get our small businesses back on their feet. So that money that's coming from the American Rescue Plan is going to ensure that we're able to finally crush this virus once and for all.
We've been hearing that the administration is taking lessons from the early years of the Obama administration to do a better job of selling the new COVID relief bill. And that starts next week with separate trips, the president, the vice president, the first lady to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Colorado, Nevada. Where does it go from there?
Well, you're going to see all of them over the next few weeks really make the case directly to Americans about what the rescue plan is going to do for them. You know, we're going to really talk about how people can get access to the child tax credit, how people are going to get access to the direct checks to the $1,400. We're going to be really talking about how people can benefit from this plan. And we're also going to be talking about, you're going to hear the president talk a lot about implementation. You know, this is something that he did in 2009 as he implemented the recovery plan with almost no waste, fraud, and abuse. It's something he feels really strongly about and he knows how to do in a really meaningful way to ensure that these dollars are spent efficiently. So he's really focused on effective implementation, on fast implementation, on making sure that people all across the country are getting this help as soon as possible. So we're going to spend the next couple of weeks with, as you've noted, the president, the first lady, the vice president, the second gentleman, members of the cabinet, out in communities really talking about the granular pieces of this plan and how it's going to make a difference in their lives.
Of course, when he was vice president, he was in charge of the implementation, notably in 2009. Is he going to make Vice President Kamala Harris in charge of it, or some other point person to oversee all of this?
Well, I would expect that we'll have announcements about how we're going to staff this, if you will, in the coming weeks. But there will certainly be people dedicated, as there were during the implementation, as you say, of the Recovery Act in 2009. There will be people who will be laser focused on ensuring that that this is implemented well. It's something, the now president was sort of famously called Sheriff Joe. President Obama called him Sheriff Joe during the implementation of the Recovery Act. So he will be personally very focused on this, and he will appoint staff who will also make sure that this money is being used quickly and efficiently.
Now, you didn't have any Republican votes in the House or the Senate, yet Senator Wicker from Mississippi was quickly tweeting and taking credit for the restaurant relief that was embedded in the bill. What's your response to that? Are Republicans going to start taking credit for the good things in this bill that they didn't vote for?
Well, I think the American people, Andrea, know that this was President Biden's bill and the Democrats in Congress, and that they were the ones who got this done. President Biden has been laser focused on our recovery and on crushing this virus since he came into office. He laid out the contours of this plan even before he took office on, I believe it was January 14th. He announced the contours of this plan, and Congress ultimately passed essentially exactly the plan that he laid out in January, that he said that we needed to get this virus under control. So, look, he always is interested in working with Republicans. His door is always open. It was during this process. As you know, he hosted Republican senators here at the White House to hear about their ideas. He always wants to work in a bipartisan manner when possible. But I also think that the American people know who fought for this, who fought for them, who fought for this bill. And that's something that we're going to be focused on talking about, as I said, over the next couple of weeks as the president and the vice president are out traveling around the country and really talking about the impact of this bill on people all across the country.
How concerned are you about Texas, Mississippi, other states that are lifting all restrictions? The CDC warns too quickly, given the variants.
Well, you've heard the president speak about this. He obviously, believes it's incredibly important to follow the science. Dr. Fauci, who you were just talking about at the top of the show, has said, Dr. Walensky of the CDC has said, this is not the moment to relent. As we're making this great progress, taking steps backwards is not going to move us closer to getting this pandemic under control. So, the president understands, of course, the sacrifice that everybody's making, that Americans are making all across the country in terms of, social distancing and not traveling and limiting the size of your gatherings. He understands it's a huge sacrifice that we're all making. But, this is not the moment to relent. This is the moment when when victory is really on the horizon and in our grasp. This is the moment to ensure that we're doing everything that we can. And what the president has said is that the action that we take now, the action that people take now to stay masked, for example, brings us closer to the end of this pandemic. And so, that is a message that the doctors and the scientists have been very clear about. It's one that the president takes very seriously, and you'll hear him address that a little bit tonight as well.
And you may not know this, but was there an invitation to the ex-president, former President Trump, to be part of that public service announcement in the President's Club?
That would be a question for the ad council, Andrea. This is their ad. It's not an ad that was orchestrated by the White House. So that would be a good question for them.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank all of you out there.
Thank you as always.
Thanks to at home.
Thanks for watching. Thank you so much for letting us into your homes during these extraordinary times.